Welcome back, NASA Hunch teachers and students. My name is Miss Brittany Koger, and I'm going to be walking you through the weight and measurement for our lunar chair project. You should have already watched the introduction to this video to learn what this project is about and seen the video with Glenn Johnson talking with our astronauts about why this is so important and why we have chosen this project for our Hunch Academy students. So what we are going to be doing here is weighing and measuring some different types of chairs. The reason that we're doing this is because it costs $1.2 million per pound of material that goes to the moon, and we're talking about going to the moon specifically with Artemis, and we're going to be setting up a lunar base. Hopefully that we will have a research station, and we've got to have chairs that we can use in our research station. So we got to be looking at a chair. How can your students design a chair, especially elementary age students, design a chair if they don't even know the measurements of a chair? That's thinking like an engineer, because engineers have a blueprint that they go off of. They have sizes and measurements and weights and specifications that they have to follow in order to make something. So we've got to know how much a basic chair weighs, and we're going to weigh and measure and get several different measurements from these chairs. So you're going to need several things for this station today. You are going to need a scale to measure our weight, and I have a bathroom scale here. If you have a kitchen scale, a digital scale like this, I think this one goes up to 15 pounds. I do not believe one of my chairs that I'm going to weigh today is going to be more than 15 pounds, so you can use this one or the push-down bathroom scale, either one that you have. I know this scale that I have right here, this push-down scale goes to 10 pounds, so you could even try one of these push scales. Whatever scale that you have available to you is what you can use. You're going to need some measuring tools of some kind. I not only suggest having a ruler, I suggest having a yardstick, some seamstress tape, or a measuring tape to measure these, because some of these lengths are a little bit bigger than 1 foot, and your kids would be trying to put it together and stack it, and that's not what we want. So a yardstick is 3 feet. You could talk about measurements, go into equivalent fractions, because our inches are broke down into small pieces. They are broke down into fractions. Pieces of a whole is a fraction, okay? So on our regular ruler, there are 16 marks between 0 and 1. So there's 16 little marks there in an inch, and it is out of 16ths. Now we can do equivalent fractions, because here on my yardstick, I've got 8 marks. That's the same on my seamstress tape as well. There's little 8 marks. Is 8 equivalent to 16? Yes, 8 plus 8 is 16, or 8 times 2 is 16. So go into equivalent fractions. You can talk as much about fractions, conversions, measurements, all of that. How many feet are in a yard, how many yards are in a mile. You could go into all kinds of measurement lessons. I love to get my students measuring. I set them free with rulers and yardsticks in my room and have them go and measure and weigh all kinds of different things. Just because they need to know how to read a ruler, we're getting away from that with our new technologies and stuff. We're getting away from reading a ruler. I noticed that my students, they want to say 1/4 instead of saying 1/4 of an inch. So make sure you talk to your students about breaking a inch into quarters and saying 3/4 or 1/4 instead of 1/4 or 3/4, and talk to them about all of those measurements and how to read these correctly. There are also 16 ounces in 1 pound, and that's very important because we got to be thinking how many pounds our chair is going to weigh. $1.2 million per pound. So I'm sure these chairs are more than 1 pound that we're going to be weighing today. So it could be $1 million to send a chair up to space. So we need measuring tools and scales to get all of our measurements. Like I said, go into as many lessons with measurements as you can. Now, I'm going to try to get my chair up here to where you can see it. And well, I have 3 different chairs that I'm going to show you today that we measured and weighed. And I had more than that with my students. Whatever chairs you have available to you, the more portable as possible would be better for them to see. But we did just pull out a regular old school chair. So I'm going to try to do this the best that I can. And I'm going to show you how I got this done. All right, so here is my regular old school chair. All right, so these are our normal chairs that we sit in here at school. So there are several measurements that we have got to do. We're going to do our length, width, and height, because those are our 3 dimensions that we always do. But this chair has some more dimensions, because we've got to know how big our seat is, how wide our seat is, how tall the back is, and at the angle the legs are. And we got to look at the legs as well, because when we're developing a chair, we've got to make all of these measurements correct, and it's got to work correctly. So I'm going to weigh it first, just because I have it up here in my hands, and it's a little bit easier if I just go ahead and do this. All right, so don't make fun of me. I'm going to try this the best that I can. Now, I had my students work this together, and they held the chair on one leg, and they held it on here, and it looks like it is 8 pounds. 8 pounds is what this chair weighs. Now, this is not a good example of a chair that we would be sending to the moon, now is it? Not a good representation of what we would be using on the moon and sending to the moon. But I do want to point out the legs of this. Notice the angles. This is something I know my fourth graders here in Georgia, we talk about angles and measurements with our angles. Notice how the legs are not straight, that they are in a different shape. Now, what shape is this? It's a triangle. Okay, why would they be in a triangle shape? That's a good question. The triangle is actually one of the strongest shapes. So when we're doing our cardboard chair in a later station, you're going to hear me talk about how triangles are very important for support. So we have several measurements first. You want to do your basic length, width, height of this chair. So for our length, how long is this chair? This way, right here. I'm going to kind of look through the bottom. So we're going to go from the feet, all right? Start down at the feet, go from the one side to the other. This is 18 inches in its length here, all right? Let's try our width. Almost 22. It is 21.5 inches in its width. And from the bottom up to the top of the chair, it is 30 inches. So it is 30 inches high. So it's 18 inches in its width, it's 21.5 inches in its length, and it's 30 inches in its height. Now, we are going to measure the legs. These legs looks like they're 17 inches. Okay, we know that they're smaller up here at the chair base. So it's 15 inches up here at the top of this chair. And it's good to talk to your students about that, how it kind of goes into a shorter base, like it widens out. Why do you think it widens out? Does that help keep us up and keep our balance? Yes, so that's a very important measurement there. So you're going to want to make sure you get your length of just the legs, how long these legs are, and how wide apart these legs are up here at the top, okay? Then you're going to want to look at the back of this chair. I'm kind of bouncing around here on my measurements, so we're going to look at the back of this chair. The back of this chair from the bottom here up is 15 inches. Now, it was 30 inches total, so 15 plus 15 is 30. So I know it's 15 inches from the base up to the bottom, 15 inches from the bottom up to the top, right? Okay, now we're going to measure our seat. We need to know how wide this seat is. Our basic seat here is 15 inches. Good. And how deep does this seat go back? Right here. That looks like it is 14.5 inches. All of these measurements are very important because when we're designing our chair, we've got to know all of those measurements. So talk to your students about the angles. If you can measure the angle of the chair, that would be fantastic if you know how to do angles and stuff. Like I said, go into as many math lessons as you can. And then I pulled up a beach chair. And this was another chair. And notice how it folds flat. We weighed, see how much that one weighs? That one weighs only 5 pounds. So that one's not that bad. But notice when I open this chair up, what shape is that? Shape of those legs. What I say about triangles being the strongest shape. So this one's going to be shorter because it's meant to sit on the sand in the beach or by a pool where you put your feet in the water. So it's not going to be as tall. But I use this one because it folded up real nice. It was kind of lightweight. This is aluminum. It's not very heavy at all. There's a little thing around here and it says it can hold up to 220 pounds. So that's really cool. And then this fabric, I like how they used a lot of fabric where that other chair was plastic. This is fabric and it's easier. So we looked at the beach chair and we weighed and measured it. That one was only 5 pounds, so we're getting lighter. And then I pulled out one of these camp chairs. Most people have one of these. You can get these at Walmart. The beach chair you can get at Walmart as well. They're not very heavy. And notice how small and compact this one is. So I like this design. There's a lot of fabric on here. So this may be closer to what we want when we are looking at sending a chair to the moon and making a chair for the moon. So now we're going to weigh this one. I want you to see how much this one weighs. Ooh, that one's only 3 pounds. So yes, still over $3 million to send this, but it is 3 pounds, so not very heavy at all. So we want to go lighter weight. So notice this one is the lightest weight. All right, we're going to open it up. Now, I know that we're not seeing just the regular triangle that we saw with the others, but notice this shape here. We still have triangles. This is an X, and it forms a triangle on the bottom and a triangle on the top. So this is an X. So you're going to measure this one as well, and we're going to measure from the bottom up. How tall is this one? This one's 30 inches. So 30 inches seems to be a good height for our chairs. Make sure you open it all the way up. Do the width down here, the length down here. Do the same in the seat and in the back of the seat. And if you wanted to measure the arms, we are measuring the legs, trying to get the angles. You want to do all of those things as we're doing this and testing your students. And they fill out the slideshow as they go. Have them weighing and measuring different chairs. Let the students work as partner groups. That's what I did. I had about 5 or 6 in each group. They each took a measurement and everybody typed it in. So one of them might measure the length, one of them might measure the width, the other one measures the weight. And then that we all exchanged and rotated our chairs, and we got to see several different chairs in this station. So use as many chairs as you have available to you. You can change the slides and the worksheets to label what chairs you have. Most people have that school chair. Most people have this chair. So, if you have those, keep them. If not, use whatever you have. I want them weighing and measuring, because when we're designing our chair in the very end, even when we're doing our cardboard chair, which is a STEM challenge that I have coming up soon, we want to talk about the weight and the measurements of these chairs, because we got to know how tall it's got to be. Both of these chairs were 30 inches in its height from the floor up. So is our workstation chair going to need to be 30 inches, or is it going to need to be taller than that to work comfortably on the moon? We do have to have arms, got to have a back, and it needs to be very lightweight. So we've got to take all of this into consideration. We got to take into consideration the angles of our triangles. There's lots of triangles. You could talk about the different types of triangles, scalene, isosceles, all of those triangles. Go into as many math lessons as possible. If you're in middle school, pull in those middle school angles. Have them measuring different angles of these chairs and get them to enter that in. It's really good to just have them weighing and measuring and get those measurements in their head. So I hope you guys had fun with this station. I know my students had a lot of fun weighing and measuring different chairs. I will see you at our cardboard chair STEM challenge. You guys have fun, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.